Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anggita Wahyu Saputri Ningsih. My student ID number is 201221130. I am grade 2D. My study program is Islamic Guidance and Counseling. I will present the result of my journal resume with the title Model Structure of Islamic Guidance and Counseling in the Healing Process of the importance of the spiritual aspect in supporting treatment and motivation the patient's healing is non-negotiable. Various research results prove that the spiritual can affect the patient's health. Psychological, if the spiritual fulfillment of the patient is not fulfilled, it will result in a condition that is spiritual deficit to spiritual distress. The condition of patients being treated in hospital requires special attention, such as non-medical attention in the form of holistic, comprehensive spiritual assistance service carried out by an expert in their field. Focus on aspects of the patient's spiritual needs, program independent, planned in each implementation, and systematic. Patient must also get motivation, support, suggestion, empathy, and first matter concerning the psychological aspect of the patient self. This type of service is not a nursing care service, but the service is guidance and counseling. As the target is Muslim patients, the guidance and counseling must be nuanced with guidance and counseling sourced from the Al-Quran and Hadith as well as book Islam. The model of implementation, guidance, and counseling in hospital for inpatients currently has a fundamental difference with counseling in formal education institutions and other institutions that have counseling service. But these differences are not significant both in terms of methods, media, and material. Indeed, the implementation of guidance, there are differences in the implementation of work, understanding the patient's condition and patient's secret as a client. Work practice in the form of the team simultaneously. Counseling sessions are on average shorter, so that is called a single session, or counseling that is short. All of this can be understood because the existing service of hospitals has and strict work regulation, little time, and a work atmosphere that is patterned in various forms of fixed work procedures that have been set. Various research results from within and outside the country show the same indicator that the implementation of guidance and counseling in hospital is different from the guidance available in formal education institutions. It can be seen that the implementation of guidance and counseling in hospital is more likely to pay attention to the importance of the spiritual aspect in supporting treatment and motivation the healing of patients because spiritual aspects affect the healing of hospital patients. Medical and spiritual dimension can cure the condition of patients. Based on research, the process of Islamic spiritual guidance for problem in hospital is still lacking. That can be seen among others. First, the implementation of guidance to patients is limited to giving prior reminding about patients and guidance of worship only and have not been able to find the core problem faced by patients. Second, when viewed in the Islamic spiritual guidance workflow, there is no problem record data form of the patients, which is used to record the implementation of the guidance and counseling, which can cause the repetition of questions in the guidance process. Third, the approach developed in carrying out Islamic spiritual guidance. Third, the approach developed in carrying out Islamic spiritual guidance is still dominated by the normative approach. So the method that has been used so far is still burdened by a lot of religious content. Patients need a psychological touch, but the officer who provide the spiritual guidance seems to influence the patient. The clerk gives more lecture to the patient, while the patient is very passive in accepting what the clerk gives more lecture to the patient, while the patient is very passive in accepting what the conveys. Fourth, the application of Islamic spiritual guidance does not pay attention to the patient's age, psychological aspect, type of illness suffered by the patient's characteristic, and social and economic status of the patients. This research is a qualitative study. This qualitative study was caused by examining the condition of natural objects about the spiritual needs of patients as well as Islamic guidance and counseling for patients at Romani Muhammadiyah Hospital Semarang. This study used the phenomenology method by examining the experience by patients at Romani Muhammadiyah Hospital Semarang. The intended experience by the patient, such as anxiety, sadness, fear, despair, and pessimism about his illness. This phenomenological research is to understand a phenomenon experienced by patients to the level of confidence of the patient concurrent. The data collection technique through observation, interview, and documentation. Process. The presence of patient in hospital has received medical service, especially service from doctor and nurse. However, medical facilities are still not enough to meet the needs of patients who are hospitalized. Non-medical services are needed to meet hospital service requirement. Non-medical services are anything that is out of medical reach or not related to doctor or nurse because it is related to spiritual needs. Spiritual contains several meanings, namely, first, relating to spirit; second, religious, relating to belief, faith, goodness, concerning divine value; third, relation to mental, physical, or physical. Related to this, the existence of Islamic counseling guidance service is to help the problem faced by patients who are experiencing various kinds of problems, both psychological, social, and religious problems, in addition to the physical illness suffered. Islamic guidance and counseling service in the form of giving religious advice, motivation to solving the personal root problem of the patients, and also the family are expected to be able to overcome problems outside the medical term so that in the end the patient can achieve complete health from both physical, psychological, social, and social aspects spiritual of Islamic guidance counseling for the healing in patients in hospital. The structure of a model will be determined by the components that are in the model. Therefore, the formulation of the model is based on several expert opinions as a reference. According to Sartre and Stone formulate, the component of the counseling model consistent of: first, historical context; second, basic assumption; third, advantage and disadvantage; fourth, result and implication. Referring to the service component of the guidance and counseling program in accordance with Munro and Gottman, there are four types of evaluation that must be provided, namely, first, basic service assistant; second, responsive service assistant; third, planning assistant individual service; and fourth, adequate support system. While in the perspective of Islamic guidance and counseling science, the model of guidance and counseling is developed based on existing theory. The Islamic guidance and counseling model itself was developed based on the Quran and the Hadith, which form the foundation of developing Islamic guidance and counseling theory. Both of those figures agreed that the Islamic guidance and counseling model was developed based on the Quran Surat An-Nahl 125, meaning, "Live your Lord's way with wisdom and good lesson and reward them in a good manner. Verily, your Lord, He knows more about anyone who has strayed from His path, and He knows better those who are quit." The medical and spiritual needs of patients of hospital are one of the most important factors in aspect, but are also supported by psychological, social, and spiritual aspect. This four-aspect approach is called holistic comprehensive healing. Islamic guidance and counseling is a spiritual aspect for the complete healing of patients so that the patient does not experience a spiritual deficit. The structure of Islamic guidance and counseling model in hospital is: first, Al-Hikmah model; second, Al-Mau'izah Al-Hasanah model; third, Mujadalah is good. First, Al-Hikmah model. Technique that can be done in the implementation of Islamic guidance and counseling with the wisdom model are as follows. First, knowing that various causes of problems faced by patients and solving them with a religious and psychological approach. Second, making good relation with patients by providing assistance to understand the problems that happening to him, providing various alternative ways to able to solve the problems, and helping patients to make self-correction related to the behavior he had done. Third, helping patients to understand the teaching of Islam and practice in daily life in order to get peace and happiness in life, in the world, and the hereafter. Fourth, this model emphasizes counselor to be brave but careful. There needs to be closeness to family patterns and exemplary. Second, Al-Mau'izah Al-Hasanah model. Munzir Suparta defines Al-Mau'izah Al-Hasanah as words which contain elements of kindness, action, guidance, moral education, teaching, stories, good news, good wills that are used as a foundation in social life, religion, so that life is safe in the world and the afterlife. Islamic guidance and counseling in this way can be developed by telling stories from the life of the prophets, apostles, and salafus salih and awliyaullah. With this kind of model, the counselor can find out how God provides guidance and directs positive thinking, how to feel, how to behave, and deal with various life problems of life that each day alternatives. It also can find out how they can build the closeness, obedience, and faith of God, develop their potential and find their self-image, and how they can solve problems that can destroy the mental and spiritual. The concept of guidance and counseling with this model emphasizes more on giving direction to patients using the example of the process of the prophets, namely how the prophets, messengers, and the awliyaullah make improvement things in personality problems so that they can become perfect human beings or human. Third, Mujadalah model is good. The term al-mujadalah can be interpreted as a discussion to gain understanding. This is usually done with two or more people in synergy. The hope is that there is no understanding dispute, does not lead to hostility, and the opponent can accept the discussion of the result discussed. This model was developed for a client who is in balance. That is, that client wants to find a truth that can convince himself, which so far He has problem having difficulty making discussion of two or more things. Will he assumes that the two or more are good and right for him. Yet according to the counselor's view, it can endanger the development of his soul, mind, emotional, and environment. Hamdani Bakran Azaki also explained the typical principle of the theory are: first, there must be a high level of patience from the counselor. Second, the counselor must master the root of the problem and its treatment well. Third, mutual respect and respect. Fourth, not aiming at toppling or defeating the client, but guiding the client to find the truth. 5. Sense of brotherhood and loving saying. The 6. Speech and language that is easily understood and refined. The 7. Does not offend the client's feeling. The 8. Express the argument of Al-Quran and As-Sunnah clearly and precisely. This model embraces individuals who need strength in belief and want to display doubts, misgiving, and negative projects about different truths. This is the end of my presentation. Apologies if there is something wrong. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.